I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
LegacyMaker, the all sports network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over.
He hasn't even played a full rookie season yet. He just started this year. Why are you going to give this kid a $210 million on paper when he's only been a rookie at 21 years old, okay? Nobody in the history of the game has done that before. Has just showed up, Johnny Go Blank Yourself, has showed up at 21 years old and got $200 and some million and hasn't even played a full rookie season in the majors yet.
Drew, come on, he's an all-star. He made it to the final round of the home run derby. I mean, like, statistically speaking, he is one of the best rookies that has ever stepped foot on a baseball field.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for the In or Out sports debate with your hosts,
Joey Raymond
and Drew Willingham.
Hello, everyone. We are live for episode 79 of the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's special returning panelist. He is a 13-time Vault of Fame inductee, a Virginia Tech graduate as well. Give it up for the returning JR, Mr. Joey Raymond. Welcome back there, brother.
How's it going, Drew? How you been, man?
Man, been doing well, man. Glad to see you again. Hope you're doing well. You know, you were talking about your travels here recently with your new hoodie on. Tell the guests what you've been up to in the past couple weeks since you were last on.
Oh man, dude, I've done a lot. But most recently, I went down to North Carolina for the Stadium Series. Watched my Carolina Hurricanes play both on Thursday and on Saturday. I made out with the Stanley Cup a little bit. That was fun.
Do tell.
Yeah, so they had this festival in downtown Raleigh, and it was really cool. And it was open to the public, and we spent all day down there, probably like almost 10 hours. And one of the things that you could do there was you could actually get your picture taken with the Stanley Cup. And so, you know, I definitely took advantage of that opportunity, had to kiss the cup, got to do what you got to do. And then, got my pictures and, it was so awesome to be able to get a chance to be able to do that. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime experience. Not everybody gets to say that they got to, be able to touch the Stanley Cup and like be that close to it. But it was really, really awesome. And then, getting to go, watch some great hockey over the past couple of days has just it's been awesome. They won both games that I went down there to go see, and that was great. And then we went and saw our wedding venue for when we get married, and it looks incredible, and we are so excited. So yeah, it's been quite a weekend. I'm quite exhausted, but definitely worth every bit of effort that we put into it, and it was such a fun trip.
That's awesome. I'm glad you got to get away for a little bit and enjoy that time, especially getting some hockey in and checking out the wedding venue and everything. And since you were last here, we had a little bit of updatedness to the Vault of Fame, and just like every episode that we start on out, we've got to get started with acknowledging that Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That right there is the In or Out Sports Debate Vault of Fame, which you can check out the previous participants that we've got here for the In or Out Sports Debate, as mentioned, which you can check out this show on LegacyMaker Sports Network, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, on TikTok as well, and the latest coverage at LegacyMakerSports.com. You can check out the In or Out Sports Debate on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms listed here on Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm, and you can download the episodes individually on iTunes. SIRTOBA Media is the video brand that I have that produces the videos that you see right here, which you can find that on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTube channel coming soon, and the latest at SIRTOBA.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for episode 79. The one and only JR of the In or Out Sports Debate is back to talk 5 great topics that we have for this evening. And Joey, as we were talking about hockey to get this thing started, let's go ahead and carry that on into round 1 with our topic that we have for that one.
Round 1.
And here with round 1, the Carolina Hurricanes need to make an impact trade to be considered serious contenders. And I'll go ahead and let you take this one first. How do you feel about this one? Are you in or are you out on this one?
Strictly only because of the way that it is worded, and specifically the word need, I'm going to go with out. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes, I would love to see them make a trade, but I don't think they need one. And, you know, it very well could be a little biased just because of coming off of the 2 wins that I just saw, but they look like a great hockey team. They look like a Stanley Cup winning team. Here's the thing to keep in mind going into the trade deadline here in a little bit. Carolina historically has never made like a short-term deal. There's a lot of rumor going around as to whether they're going to go get a guy like Timo Meier, and oh my Lord, I would love to see that deal done. That would be fantastic, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Carolina tends to make deals with players who have some sort of contract stability. They want guys who can stay there for a term, not just a rental. They don't want a rental. You know, they don't want to give up guys and give up draft picks and give up, you know, really good prospects just for a guy that's going to be there for, you know, a couple months and then move on. You know, they want a guy who they can lock up. So if they do trade for a guy like Timo Meier, I would assume that there is some level of agreement between the Hurricanes and Timo Meier that says, hey, we're going to lock you up for a long time. You know, the one thing that I would like to see if they do go get something is a goal scorer like Timo Meier. If they don't get him, find a guy who can help you, especially if nothing else, especially in the power play. Like, you don't need a guy who's going to score a ton of goals when you are a team that plays by committee. Every single Carolina Hurricanes player, you know, they do it in a way where they are going to share the puck and they're going to score a lot of goals by spreading out the puck. There's not one guy who's really going to score a ton of goals, which works well in Rod Brindamore's system. But right now, the Carolina Hurricanes, they rank 22nd in power play goals. They need to work on getting more goals on the power play, because if you're going to win the Stanley Cup, it may come down to just a power play and whether or not you can score a goal during that 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on what penalty happened there. But I would love to see a trade happen, but I don't think the Carolina Hurricanes need to make a trade here.
I was hoping that with the way you worded it that you would actually go in, but now I have to agree with you on this one. I'm out as well. When you break it all down, with their current record, they're 37-10. in the games that they have played. Okay, 37 wins, 10 losses. Okay, when you think about everything as a perspective and what this team has already done at the point that you're talking about trades and stuff potentially floating around the NHL, and especially with the game that Joey was talking about that he just watched in person recently, the heart that this team has, you don't want to mess with the chemistry going on at this time. I mean, they are 37-10. I mean, that's still 27 more wins than losses. I got to give it up to them. They're doing a great job out there on this ice, as I usually say in these streets, but on this ice, I have to say that I agree with Joey.
What?
I agree with Joey.
What?
Again, I cannot stress it enough on this one. I'm going to have to agree with Joey.
What?
Sammy's getting pissed on
Say
cold.
what again? Say what again?
It's just absolutely, entirely the truth on this one.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be really fun this the playoffs, especially in the East, considering that the 6th place team in the East, I believe it's the Rangers, have 73 points, which is more than the 1st place team in the West. Hockey is going to get very interesting over the next little bit. I'm interested to see who's going to be a buyer, who's going to be a seller. Especially with like the Capitals, who are only 1 point out from the playoffs. I'm curious to see if they're gonna buy or sell. But it's gonna be really fun. If you guys are even mildly into hockey, I would definitely watch a couple games because it's gonna be a lot of fun. Even no matter who you cheer for, it's gonna be awesome.
Well, now that NFL is officially over, we're going to be talking a lot more NHL, NBA, and even XFL, and then USFL starts in April. So we're going to be talking, still some football, not as much as we were covering with NFL, but we got to work this in there, some hockey, some maybe some NASCAR, a little bit of everything. We got to do things to stay afloat now, Joseph, because NFL is officially over until the draft comes about. So we got baseball coming around the corner. Pitchers and catchers are starting to report. So I'm
so excited.
We got things that here in the next month we'll be able to start talking about with that. So don't you give yourself a little frown there yet, Joseph. We got plenty of time and plenty of sports left to discuss. But speaking of which, before we go into round 2, I want to take a look at a little bit of a promo that we have for a show that comes around on Monday afternoons. Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is the Sports Senseis Unleashed. Episode 10 came out earlier this afternoon at 1:05 p.m. Eastern. We go live on Monday afternoons, 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 p.m. Central to get your Sports Senseis Unleashed needs met. Bow to your senseis. But other than that, fellas, we've gone through the first round of this show. Let's go ahead and take this on into round 2 and see what we got in store for that one.
Round 2.
And here, Joseph, with round 2. The Philadelphia Eagles will struggle next season as a result of the coaching staff being decimated after Super Bowl 57. How do you feel about this one? Do you agree with this statement in tow? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm in. I think it's going to be really tough to replace the offensive mastermind that was the Eagles offensive coordinator. And then the fact that their defensive coordinator also got, taken away. I mean, you're literally going to have to run an entire new playbook, both offensively and defensively. That's going to be a struggle. When you're switching that much of your team's, brain power, it's going to be really tough. And then you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who is a, two-way quarterback in a lot of ways. He's, a guy who can run. He's a guy who can pass. And so you have to find a offensive mind who can channel both of those things and be able to create an efficient offense, which is really hard to do. If anybody could do it, then, we would be seeing a lot more high-powered offenses than what we have in previous years. And so, to say that the Eagles aren't going to struggle when you have taken away both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, I just don't think it's possible that, they will be successful because they're a successful organization, but they're going to struggle next year. I would put them, as of right now, as maybe a wild card team. Maybe it really just kind of depends on who they hire as offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. I really hope that they find someone who fits well, especially in the case of Jalen Hurts, who balled out during the Super Bowl. You could argue that he was the MVP even as the loser. He was that good.
It was that fumble that cost them the game, and also that MVP as well.
Yeah. But even then, you could still consider him the MVP, even with that fumble. So it's hard. But I would say that definitely they need to find a good offensive coordinator.
No, I'm picking up what you're throwing down there, Joseph, and although I'm very reluctant to do so, I have to agree with you. 2 topics in a row, I'm in on this as well. This division, we almost saw all 4 teams make the playoffs this year. Came very, very close had it not been for Ron Rivera and the Commies' boneheaded decision of starting Carson Wentz in week 16, or no, it was week 17. Because week 18 was the final week when he started Sam Howell when they were already out of it. So, yeah, the week before that, they started Carson Wentz pretty much through the game, and when they still had a chance to be a wild card in that division, which, with you saying a wild card, we could potentially see all 4 teams make history next year in the NFC East, that being the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, and the Commies. Potentially all 4 teams make the NFL playoffs because they came very close into doing it this year. The division is still going to be a very good one next year with the moves these teams are going to be potentially making throughout this offseason. They already have pretty decently built teams. And if the Commanders can actually build a decent, talented offensive line around Sam Howell and not spend money on a superstar quarterback that they think is in free agency or in a trade, they could potentially have something special within this team, formerly known as the REDSKINS. But back to the Eagles, like Joey said, when you lose the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, and then you've also got a potential looming contract negotiation with one Jalen Hurts that you're going to have during this offseason, potentially leading into next year and potentially leading after that. So when you have all that in weighing in the balance, especially how you just lost this Super Bowl, because it's the really close ones down to the wire that hurt more than getting blown out. At least when you're getting blown out, you can already prepare mentally for the loss. Like the way this game ended, it like abruptly ended. Some people would argue the calls that were made within that game were at least at the very end. But, Bradbury even admitted that he was holding. And, the fact that you lost your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator, which are the exact reasons that you got to the dance, but they played a very big part in it. And it depends on what their offensive and defensive scheme are going to look like, which, the head coach, Nick Sirianni, has a lot of pull within that as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the next, 4 to 6 weeks pan out, as you've got, once March gets here, then you got the free agency and you can start making trades and start making moves and starting to see what teams do, along with their front office moves they make within their coaching staffs as well. So with what Joey said, I got to agree with what he said, with everything that he put in tow with offensive defensive coordinator. Can't really argue against that. I feel like they're going to struggle now. How much they're going to struggle? They could get 2 less wins because they were 15-2. They could be 14-4 and still technically struggle, or 14 what is it'd be 13-4. They could go 13-4, still have a great record, but that's still technically a struggle because they were 15-2 this year. So that's the way I look at it. This is kind of you can't really go wrong with this year. They're not going to be 15-2. They're not going to go perfect this year with no offensive defensive coordinator.
No,
So
not at all. I would say that anything more than like an extra loss, I would consider them struggling. Like if they lose like more than just like a game more than what they did last year, I would say that would be considered struggling for me when it comes to the Eagles. But I do believe that they're going to be back. I think this year they might struggle a little bit just because they have to learn that system. But if you get to a point where when get them to understand that system, I think they'll be good again, and they'll be really good again. I just think, learning a new system is really hard. I mean, we saw that with a lot of teams this year, both collegiately and through the NFL, who got brand new coaches and really struggled because they couldn't quite learn the system.
facts. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how those pan out. But the first two rounds, Joey and I are agreeing with each other. They were still neck and neck so far here into the show. But before we go any further, we have some breaking news we have to announce going into this week. And that breaking news is this. This Wednesday, BS3 Network's very own Ben Sutter III will be here for episode 80. This Wednesday, February 22nd, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, followed by the next time we will see episode 81 will be this Friday when we have the Enter the Boom Shakalaka edition when Chris Bass of Baseline is here, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:15 p.m. Central Time, as we have two more episodes of the Inner Out Sports Debate this week. BS3, Ben Sutter III here, episode 80 Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by of Baseline, Chris Bass for episode 81, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:15 p.m. Central Time. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the one and only Joseph Raymond as we have another round to go ahead and into before we get to the midway point. Let's go ahead and head on to round 3 and see what we got in store for that one.
Round 3.
And Joey with round 3. MLB should buy out Diamond Sports Group and take over the local TV rights for all affiliated teams. How do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the statement in tow? Are you in or are you out on this one?
Well, for starters, I'm screaming for joy because we're talking about baseball again. I've been waiting to talk about baseball for a really long time. I could go on forever. I'm definitely in. I think just to kind of make a blanket statement, I think that the MLB, the NHL, the NBA, all of them should buy out when the Diamond Sports Group ultimately declares bankruptcy. They should all buy out their local teams. Because if you look at it, teams have already shown that they can run their own successful media companies. You think about, just to name off a few, the Cubs, they have Marquee. The White Sox, they have WGN. The Yankees have Yes. The Red Sox have Nesson. The Orioles have Masson, which I'm not a particularly huge fan of Masson, but, point is they still have it, and it's still their own successful network that they can show their own games to their local fans for. To have the Diamond Sports Group essentially flat out tell the MLB that, hey, we're not going to pay your teams. We're going to declare for bankruptcy because we don't have any money. This is a huge step in the aspect of getting Major League Baseball to bring these local teams and give themselves the ability to get rid of blackouts on MLB.TV and start this in a way that we can get all fans to be included in watching these games. If we get these guys to create their own local networks and get MLB TV to be able to have no blackouts and be able to watch every single game, that is going to open up the world for a lot of younger families who cut cable, and even a lot of older families. I mean, my Geek Squad brethren, Drew here, he gets it. Like, so many people are getting rid of cable and are losing access to their sports teams.
Cutting the cord.
If MLB owns those rights, that doesn't happen. And not only that, but Rob Manfred came out and said, I'll just read the quote directly, said, "We've been really clear that if Diamond doesn't pay under every single one of the broadcast agreements, that creates a termination right, and our clubs will proceed to terminate those contracts." So they've already started this whole process of acquiring their TV rights back to create their own networks. I think it's a great idea. I am absolutely, positively, no question, I am all the way in on this topic.
Yeah, the way you worded this thing, when you suggested it, I had a feeling that we were going to agree with on this. I didn't know it was going to be 3 statements in a row, but I'm going to have to go ahead and say, yes, I am in on this as well. $140 million, Joseph. That was the one thing that you neglected to give them, was the exact number. $140 million is a lot of money. When you think about the amount of money, this is an interest payment that Diamond Sports Group failed to make by February 15th of this month. And they have a 30-day grace period now to come up with $140 million. Are they going to be able to do that? I don't think so. How are they going to be able to just have a golden egg come on out that's worth $140 million? I cannot say this enough, but do you think, Bishop Bullwinkle, they're going to be able to do that?
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
Somebody at Diamond Sports Group, one way or another, they're going to have some setbacks. Somebody is going to be marching into somebody else's office if they lose this deal and shouting this at another person, or maybe more.
You're fired!
I mean, when you put it all into perspective, this is a major, major deal. Now, for what everything that Joey said is great for Major League Baseball, because you get to have a little bit more control of your own product, be able to potentially, dissipate the actual blackouts that we were ensuing throughout these major corporations known as like Sinclair Broadcasting, Bally Sports, and so on. Turner Broadcasting Group, or ones that were in my area back in the day, all that stuff when you think about all that. But when you have $140 million, that's a hefty bill that you need to make. Where has this money been going to? You should have been making profits. It should have been somewhere close to $140 million, and you could have made your payment. That's why I have to agree with the statement. I am in. $140 million, Joseph. I've said it like 27 times, but $140 million.
Dude, I have a hard time finding change in my car. I don't know where in the world they're going to pull $140 million out of.
Jeez, it is absolutely insane when you think about that amount of money that has to come through with that. But guys, we're at the midway point of the show. Let's go ahead and acknowledge the comments from the fans, Joey, see what the comments got to be like. But before we do that, I got to go ahead and unravel this special commercial for our show.
This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again.
There you go, peanut butter and jealous. If you're in the need, grab a little PB and jealous and spread it on some bread. You can even share it with a friend up top, or do some anorexic stuff and puke it back on up. I am not enticing you to do anything, but if that is your need and that is your feel, do what you must feel. With that being said, let's go ahead and take this into the Medial Mayhem. Joseph, we got a decent amount of comments to start us on out here for episode 79. Ike has made it into the building. Ike doesn't give a fuck. Is here as he says, "Let's go, fellas." Number 79. Joseph is back, he says. A new fan, a new follower, Mickey Delaney, who follows the Snowman in the Morning crew. Definitely a new fan as he watched our show, The Sports Sensations Unleashed, earlier and definitely liked our show. And he's definitely watching now. And thank you, Mickey, for being a new fan. Definitely appreciate you. As even Ike appreciates you too and says, yo, what's up, Mick? Darrell is here and says, Drew and Joey.
What's up, Darrell?
Dio, my man, welcome back. Eagles are set for the next couple of years, he says, despite the offensive coordinator and defense coordinator, maybe talent-wise. But as far as the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, I don't know, my man. We'll have to see if that makes any or minimal impact at all in this upcoming 2023 season. Eagles have to watch out because they will not surprise anybody next season. How do you feel about that, Joey?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And that's why I think they're going to struggle, because when you got a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator, you're not going to be able to put surprises in your playbook because they're going to have a hard time learning the playbook as is. So, you know, you can't add extra special plays because, you know, they're going to have a hard time learning the plays to begin with. So I would definitely say that, no, they're not going to surprise anybody. They're going to struggle next year just strictly because of the fact that they're going to have to relearn everything.
Facts. I definitely agree with you on that one. Darrell says Ben is one of the best. Ben, I think you're talking about front office Ben of the Eagles. Front office Ben of the Eagles. As you know, we were talking about, you know, the first two rounds. You know, it had to have been from we were talking about the Eagles in the time frame because we were talking about baseball and stuff after that. So I don't remember old Benny being part of the baseball conversation, but definitely Ben is one of the best.
Yeah, go Ben.
Ike says Joey is a homer for the Canes.
I mean, I've never denied that one. I've denied a couple of the other ones that he's called me a homer for, but no, I give you the Canes. But even then, I'm still really excited, just strictly based off of what they've been doing. I mean, that is a great team that they have got on the ice. And, you know, it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's a really exciting way that they play hockey. It's very methodical, and it's brutal to watch, man. Like, I mean, you should see some of the hits that they lay on some people. I remember watching the Stadium Series game, and they threw two guys into the bench, like, you know, straight up cross-checked them, threw them into the bench, didn't even care, went on with their lives. Like, I mean, they play a brutal style of hockey, and it is really fun to watch. And with the fact that I'm pretty much Carolina everything, it shouldn't be a surprise that I'm a homer for the Canes.
Even Melvin Teresmo is here, jumps in on the action and says, yo, Melvin, thank you for joining us here for episode 79. And our last comment before we go into the next half of the show, baseball is back. Go M's. Darrell's a big Mariners fan. Go
Really?
M's. And for that, we have to go with a... Baseball is back.
I did not realize he was a Mariners fan. That's a hard life to live.
Yeah, I mean, they went to the playoffs last year. I mean, you know, you got to see a little bit of life last year.
That's true. They got Julio Rodriguez. Like, they're on the up and up. They did get rid of their gray jerseys because of Nike's new rule that they're only allowed to have like 4 or 5 uniforms. And so they're not going to wear an away gray anymore. They're only going to wear the navy blue and that green color that they use. I don't remember what the technical name for it is.
Well, I have a feeling that Mariners fans, your team is going to be staring at others' teams when it comes to a playoff push and be saying this over the course of the next few years.
I'll be back.
And back they shall be, as we shall see what happens out there in these streets with those teams.
I'm really curious to see if the Mariners are going to make a playoff push this year. I think they will, but I would love to. I wonder if they're going to pick up somebody else. I feel like they need another bat.
Hey, if Julio starts off hot like he was playing last year and keeps it going now that we have a full season to see him, I feel like we're going to see potentially something special. You know, I'm still not 100% with that contract, as you guys see in the intro of every single episode that we have with Joey's intro. I'm still not down with that intro. I mean, it's not down with not the intro, but I'm still not down with that contract. But when you put it all into perspective, we're going to see this year if he proves me wrong. If he can keep it going and have a hot year, be MVP this year, then I will rest my case and let it go. And speaking of resting cases, for that, I have to play this effect.
Oh my god, I love the Law and Order Denta. It's so iconic. It's so great. Yeah, man, I can't wait for baseball season. I've got that like anxious excitement where it's just like I need it to happen like right now.
many teams are going to be excited when that happens, but there's going to be some other teams that play like this, Joseph.
yeah, probably that team that plays in Miami.
Yeah, let's leave that one alone. And guys, thank you for the comments so far in this show. Keep the comments coming, and we'll acknowledge them there at the end for the mayhem culmination. But let's keep this thing going as we still have 2 more rounds to cover. We go ahead and take this into round 4 for the by the number segment.
Round 4.
And Joey here with round 4. Bob the Geek St. Clair is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 79 in all of sports history. How do you feel about this one here? Do you agree with the statement? Are you in or are you out on this one?
This one was really close for me. Statistically, the guy that I picked and Bob St. Clair were really close, but I'm out.
Joey is out.
Statistically, again, they are really, really close, but I'm going to go with Rosie Brown. And again, like it was fascinating when I was doing my research and I pulled them up side by side, and they had very similar careers statistically. But when you put them up there, technically Rosie Brown was just ever so slightly better. Whereas Bob was selected to be an all NFL player 4 times, Rosie Brown was selected 8 times. St. Clair was selected to the Pro Bowl 5 times. Rosie Brown was selected 9 times. And then not only that, but Brown was also named to the 1950s All-Decade Team and the NFL's 75th Anniversary All-Time Team. So it was really close. I was really torn, especially considering Bob St. Clair, again, all NFL 4 times, 5 Pro Bowls, played 11 seasons. And, come to find out, and I didn't even know this until I looked it up, but he played literally his entire sports career, like the entire thing from high school to the NFL in one city. He played the whole thing in San Francisco. And that was pretty fascinating. And that was pretty cool because you don't ever see that. So that was pretty sweet. But yeah, I'm going to go with Rosie Brown as my player.
Joseph, when it comes to these players that you speak of, when it comes to Bob the Geek St. Clair, I mean, think about this guy's name. Think about how awesome of a nickname that was back in the day. The man probably had no idea how to use a mother, father, and computer. Yet, at the same time, this man had the nickname of the Geek, okay? He had the nickname of the Geek. You got Rosie Brown. And because his nickname is the Geek, and because he's in the NFL Hall of Fame, I have to disagree. I'm in. For squad life, Joseph. For squad life. And for the sake of argument for the first legitimate time in now 40 minutes of this show, I have to say that I have to argue in this one. And I have to say that Bob the Geek St. Clair deserves his flowers as the best to ever wear the number 79 of all time. Yes, you speak of one Rosie Brown, who was an NFL champion in 1956 with the New York Giants. And I speak of Harvey Martin as well, who was a Super Bowl champion with the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s. It was also an NFL Defensive Player of the Year as well. But when I think of Bob the Geek St. Clair and his impact on the NFL, so much of an impact that he was elected into the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, even though Rosie Brown was inducted to the Hall of Fame, and even though Harvey Martin was not, Bob St. Clair was. And he also has a cool nickname as the Geek St. Clair. So for that, I have to give it to Bob the Geek St. Clair, and for the sake of argument.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Like I said, they were really close. They were really close statistically. But yeah, no, he had the ever so slight edge, and that's why I went with Rosie Brown.
It's going to be interesting to see, if that ages well and if anybody actually cares. But if they do care, let us know in the comments if you care and if you agree or disagree with us for number 79 as the best to wear at all time. Was it Rosie Brown or was it Bob the Geek St. Clair? Now, with that being said, guys, we've gone through 4 rounds so far of this show. Before we take it into round 5, aka the final round, let's go ahead and take a look at another commercial break.
LegacyMaker, the all sports network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
What? I'm better than you. And you know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Kayfabe Express, which we have a new episode. Episode 3 will be out this Tuesday, February 21st, tomorrow evening, 7:05 p.m. Eastern. The cousin of Roman Reigns, Lance Anawahi, will be here tomorrow evening for episode 3 of the Kayfabe Express. Joseph, get hype, get ready, as another badass episode of Wrestling Packed Action comes your way.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm excited for that one.
I appreciate it. We've gone through 4 rounds. We've gone through all the advertisements. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have one more round left to get to, and that there is the final round.
Final round.
The final round here, the NFL should seriously consider acquiring the XFL and operate the brand like a minor league system. How do you feel about this one, Joey? Do you agree with this statement in tow? Are you in or are you out?
I'm going to go with both capital letters. I'm going to go in. I was saying this when the XFL originally declared bankruptcy. I think that the NFL should have a minor league system like Major League Baseball does. I've been saying it for years. I've been screaming it at the top of my lungs, and no one wants to listen to me. But too many players are being cast aside that are so close that could possibly be NFL-type players who just aren't given the opportunity because they don't have enough reps or because they just, are so close, but they're just not enough to get to that next level. And that's why I love sports leagues like the XFL and the USFL. I think that they are fantastic opportunities. And I think that if maybe not fully acquiring, at least have some level of partnership to create and to be able to allow teams to take and put players there and use that as a developmental tool so that when they get to the NFL, they absolutely have the opportunity to full force run into it head first without having any sort of hesitation or any sort of backdrop just because they haven't had as many reps as these guys in the NFL have. I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of players to get a chance that isn't normally there. And so I would love to see the NFL and the XFL pair up in more ways than what they currently have, because right now they have a way, or they have an agreement to work together to develop for players' health. And I would love to see that, be the start of something where they could develop the XFL into an actual minor league system and get, 30 some odd teams, give one team to, each NFL team and say, hey, like, let's make this a, way to develop our players.
For the first genuine time in this entire show, I have to disagree with one Joseph and say that I am out. There are many other leagues that you can tamper with, Joey, and you can do that with the USFL if you want to. Make that your little minor league paradise. But you leave the XFL alone, Joseph. If you watched all 4 games or even just one over the entirety of this past weekend, it was like watching a WWE live event with football, especially that Defenders game yesterday where they're throwing lemons onto the field. And that lemon throwing onto the field because they lost Beer Snake gave that team inspiration to where they came back. They were down 18-8 and came back, Joseph. And you could see the heart in these guys' eyes as they wanted to come back and win this game. I think the XFL could be onto something special. It had a lot of potential when they had the 2.0 run back before the pandemic started. But the pandemic killed the original second chance of the XFL. This is like the second chance 2.2, I guess, because they're just basically restarting their chance that they tried to have 3 years ago, except for it's under different management with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his wife. Give them their flowers. They attended to all 4 games over the past weekend, all 4 XFL games, made it to all 4 of them. And what they have done to reboot this league, I feel like you need to give them more credit because they had packed stadiums for all 4 games. They advertised it well. They marketed it well. They did great when it came to all of that, when it came to the XFL. You leave the XFL alone, Joseph. You let USFL become the minor league team, but I disagree on this one wholeheartedly. When I think about making the XFL an actual minor league team,
What?
you're saying you want to make it a minor league team?
What?
I think it should be like AEW.
What?
AEW of football.
What?
You're going to stand up to the man, which is the NFL, and you are AEW, a.k.a. XFL, standing up to the man.
What?
I said your mother-fathering standing up to the man.
What?
XFL, you look like a professional wrestling event with football, and I love it as a professional wrestling fan.
What?
I said I love it as a professional wrestling fan.
What?
Cannot say it again.
Say what again? Say what again?
Because Sammy said so. But when I put it all into perspective, and I think about how the layout of the XFL games were over this past weekend, I absolutely loved it because we didn't have anybody coming to the podium like this.
That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Nobody came to the podium quite like that. Nobody is going to be having talks like this either.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
And at some point in the season, I feel like this man is going to rewind back to a previous version of himself and say this to somebody.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
Because why not? You own the league. Do as you wish, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Thank you so much for the entertainment. Do not listen to Joseph. Let the USFL listen to Joseph. You stay just as you are.
Well, see, one of the things why I think the XFL would be a great minor league system is strictly just because of the fact that, like you said, man, like the things that they did and the way that they ran it, if they were still able to do that and give the NFL a way to experiment with that kind of stuff, would be awesome. Like the whole reviewing of plays was by far one of the most entertaining parts of that game to watch. Like,
Yes.
when something would happen and they would flip over to the guy reviewing the plays, and, he was exactly saying, hey, I'm looking for this. I want to see that. If I can't get it, and then even in the St. Louis game, he was like, look, I don't have any conclusive evidence as to whether or not that is or is not a touchdown. Let them know that it still stands, because I don't know. And to be able to see that and to have that, just ownership of yeah, we don't know, and to be able to see the just ability to have the communication between what's going on in a review and what happens on the field. It truly was one of the more entertaining parts of watching the XFL. I loved every bit of it. I was only able to watch one of the games, but and that was the St. Louis game. But that game was so entertaining, it was insane. I did see pictures of the Arlington Renegades and what they did with the old Texas Rangers stadium, and that was pretty cool. And so yeah, I'm excited for the XFL, but yeah, I still would love to see the NFL get some level of minor league system, even if that is the USFL. We haven't seen much advertising about the USFL, and so yeah, who knows? Are you against the NFL having a minor league team at all? Or is it just the XFL that you want left alone?
I just want give it to USFL, give it to CFL, give it to anybody but the XFL. I just like the performance of everything. Yeah, it's okay if the NFL steals some ideas from them, like they did with some of the things they were doing with the first XFL with what they did, like the Sky Cam and stuff. A lot of that stuff came from what XFL did when they first came out in 2001.
Right.
But they bankrupt, come back in 2020, didn't quite pan out. But when you put it all into perspective and you think about the impact it's made, yeah, I mean, I like your point to that. But give it to the USFL. Don't ruin a good thing, because I feel like if the momentum carries on, like what we had now, it's been historic that the first weekend, the first go-around and the second go-around were also great weekends as well when they first launched, okay? Now we're going to see what happens over the next 2, 3, and 4 weeks. Like weeks 2 through 4 are going to be huge for the XFL as far as ratings, and if they can keep this thing going afloat. Now, they worked out a great media rights deal to where they're not going to fold during the actual season. They'll be able to actually get through the season, see how the numbers go, and see if it's worthy enough to come back next year. But if The Rock is behind the production of everything, when she is, as you could tell by watching even the commercials of this game or the games that you were watching, the production quality was like no other was watching.
Yeah.
It was great. You didn't feel like you were watching like a minor league contest. I felt like I was watching AEW, like the subsidiary to WWE. It was like, and I felt like it was probably potentially better than that. But if you want to tell me like an actual team that deserves to operate like a minor league system, give it to the USFL. Really soak in the USFL when it comes back on April 15th. And I feel like you'll agree with that as far as not messing up with a good thing, compare the first reboot season of the XFL once the USFL comes back out. And I feel like when we revisit this, we'll revisit this in another worded way. And I'll see if I can get you to admit who was potentially right and who was wrong. And if I'm wrong with the way it pans out for this first reincarnated season, take 3, I guess we'll say for the XFL, then my hat will be taken off to you at that point, Joseph, and I will give you your flowers. But,
yeah, I really would like to see a minor league system for the NFL. I just think it would be a great opportunity for a lot of players. And yeah, if you want to run the XFL in parallel, like that would be fantastic. I love the XFL. I loved the game that I watched. And if I wasn't so busy, I would have watched all of them. But
I know the feeling. I worked 11-hour day on Saturday. I had to watch the highlights of Saturday, but I watched the games yesterday along with Daytona 500 and a little bit of that trash of an NBA All-Star game. It was a snooze fest. I didn't watch too much of it, but it was definitely a trash game.
Damn!
No, it was, bro. That was so terrible. And many of them are snowflakes and just can't.
You can't handle the truth!
And I'm telling you, bro, it was a trash game is what Cole Johnson of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson have to say about that. But guys, we've gone through 5 great rounds of this show. We've got some things to acknowledge before we head on out of here. And before we get to the Mayhem culmination, it is time that we acknowledge the Vault of Fame once more.
Acknowledge me.
And here, the In or Out Sports Debate Vault of Fame. When we put it all into perspective, Joseph Raymond is now a 14-time Vault of Fame inductee. As you can see right here on this leaderboard, he now moves into first place of appearances on this show. Congratulations there, Joseph. You are live. They can hear you and your reactions to it. I can see you, but they can't see you, but they can hear you. As I see you're giddy with excitement as you are now in first place over Rob Johnson, who's in second with 13 appearances now, tied for third. Darrell Owens, James Brown, and Corey Mann, tied for third. Tied for fourth place, Brian H. Waters, Cody Stewart, Dwayne Allen, Kyle Nash, Michael Bish, P. Alexander Wally, Brian Snow, Lamont Thomas round out that number 4 spot with 3 appearances, and 7 panelists tied with 2 appearances apiece in 5th place. That's a lot on the leaderboard there. But guys, up next on this show, you can check out, well, before that, tomorrow, Kayfabe Express is back. Episode 3 with Roman Reigns' cousin, Lance Anoa'i. You can check us out tomorrow, 7:05 p.m. Eastern, here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network, followed by Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Ben Sutter III of BS3 Network will be here for episode 80 Wednesday evening. And to round out this trifecta of In or Out Sports Debate episodes this week, you can check out episode 81 with Chris Bass, the Enter the Boom Shakalaka edition, this Friday, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, special afternoon time, 1:15 p.m. Central Time. Again, you can check out this show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and some highlights on TikTok as well with the latest at LegacyMakerSports.com. You can check out the In or Out Sports Debate on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms listed here as well on Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm. You can download them individually on iTunes. SIRTOBA Media is where you can check out SIRTOBA Media's video production brand behind this video itself, where the struggle is real to be awesome, at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, coming soon. And the latest is SIRTOBA.com. You can check out the Sports Senseis Unleashed Mondays at 1:05 p.m. Eastern on the SDM Sports Radio Network, as well as Snowman Multimedia. And if you want to throw a little tipping my way for the production qualities here, DWilly87 on Cash App, cash.app/DWilly87. Donations are accepted if you feel as if I earned it for your entertainment value. Again, we are here for episode 79. The one and only Joey Raymond is back, as we've gone through all the rounds, all the tidbits of everything to induct him into the Vault of Fame for the 14th time. And before we head on out of here, we've got to acknowledge what the fans have to say before we go into our final word, as they have left us some words of encouragement before we head on out. And Joseph, those fans have got some things to say, whether it's to encourage us or not. We will be the judge of that here in just a second, as we got some interesting things that have been said. We got, let's see. Right after that, Joey is a homer for Canes. We went through that one. Melvin Turismo said, yo, Darrell is hype for Kayfabe Express. Let's go. We are the ones. Definitely we are, and so are the Bloodline and the ones in the WWE stable of the Bloodline. I care, Drew says Ike doesn't give a fuck. And I was talking about if anybody cared about the numbers or not. Well, thank you for caring, Ike. I appreciate you. Joseph does too. Ike even says, give it to the geek. Joey does not agree with that, but I'll give you this.
I'm like way outnumbered.
Outnumbered, you got Ike and this for the geek, and I'll give you this too. There it is. There it is. There's my backup on that there, Joseph. The geek deserves it, Joseph.
Yeah.
What?
So the geek deserves it, Joseph.
What?
Joseph is just saying, yeah. And Joseph in the back of his mind, even though he's saying
ganged up on right now, yo.
He's getting ganged up on, and Joseph is calling for the bishop.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no, no.
Because that's how he feels right now, saying hell no to the no, no, no. Leave XFL alone, says Ike. Well, thank you for the backup there, Ike. I definitely agree with you on that because somebody's got to stand up and say this.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Absolutely.
What an iconic speech. I laugh every time that I watch that speech. I'm a man.
Somebody's going to have to come after him with the I'm a man speech there, Joseph. Mickey, our new commenter now says, hi, Fru. Hi, Joey. Well, F is beside the D on the keyboard, so I give him a break on that one. So, hi, Drew.
Fru from here on out.
You can call me that, and then I'll have to say this to you.
That's terrible.
Give me a break there, Joseph. The man meant to put a D there. It's beside the F on the keyboard. I acknowledge you, Mick. Everything is cool. Everything is cool. And lastly, our last comment before we head on to the final word. Give it to the USFL. I agree with Drew. Because when it comes to the XFL, staring down the USFL and saying this.
You may claim to be the best in the world, but I'm better than you. And you know it.
Now, Joseph is probably looking at all of these shenanigans over the past 5 minutes saying,
would you please shut the hell up?
Because at one point, when the guys in the chat were going off, it probably felt like he was being on the other reciprocated part of this.
Looks like Boucher knocked him out cold.
And Joseph, even though it felt like somebody was in your face doing this, I can assure you this, that at the end of the day,
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
just let it go. It's all good. Ain't nobody care.
I will say this. I did a Google and looked at the USFL teams, and they look more like minor league teams, just looking at the list. So, yeah. I mean, just off of like logos and locations alone, they do kind of look like minor league teams to me.
There you go, Joseph. When you've got former NFL players like AJ McCarron and Josh Gordon who could not, of all things, Josh Gordon could not
Stay off the weed.
And now he's on the Seattle Sea Dragons making plays against the Defenders last night. So when I put it all into perspective, even though he couldn't,
Stay off the weed.
now he's in Seattle where marijuana is legal. So he can smoke as much of it. He does not need.
Stay off the weed.
He'll be okay. So, yeah, as you said, with the way the rosters, the way the league's constructed, I feel like they would be better off acquiring the USFL. Thank you guys out there for having my back. Joey has a great mindset as far as how it should play out, but I think he just picked the wrong league. If he just picked the USFL and disagree with his own statement in that moment, we would have agreed with almost everything of the show, except for the by the numbers one that I had to go sideways because I didn't know how it was going to go going into that final round. So luckily, we got to start disagreeing with stuff on the way on out the door. But guys, thank you all for the comments so far for this show. We've only got one more thing to get to, and that is the final word. Let's go ahead and get to that point and see what we got to say as we take it on out of here and close out episode 79. Let's take it to the final word. And Joseph, you know the drill now after being here for a record 14 times on this show. How do you feel when it comes to the final word? Let the fans know on the way on out to close this episode.
Even though they ganged up on me. Yeah. No, I really, it's been awesome. I've had a sports filled weekend between watching, the XFL and watching a couple hockey games in person. I genuinely, I'm just so excited for this next set of sports. I mean, we're coming up on March Madness. We're coming up on the trade deadline for the NBA, coming up on the trade deadline for the NHL. There's going to be a lot happening in sports over the next, little bit. And then more importantly, and the most importantly, baseball is starting again. And I'm so excited to be able to talk about that with you, Drew. World Baseball Classic starts up here in a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot to talk about. And it is going to be a great, it's going to be a great like March, April, and May. Like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to the sports over the next couple months here, man. It's going to be a good time.
Definitely glad you had a great weekend there, Joseph, and rounding it on out and closing it out that weekend with an appearance on here today for the 14th time to now take the lead for the times going into the 70 or through now the 79 episodes of the reincarnation of this show. With that being said, I've said enough with both of us here. It's now time for my final word there, Joseph. And I'm going to take it a little bit outside of the realm of what we discussed, take it into WWE. In this past weekend, Elimination Chamber was probably the best pay-per-view leading up to a WrestleMania that I think I've seen in quite some time, if ever. And usually the last pay-per-view leading up to WrestleMania, whether it be Elimination Chamber or Fastlane or whatever they wanted to pick to have their buffer in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, usually sucks. But this year, it's actually a really good show. Very good. One of the best I've seen in quite some time. And what they did in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, well, I don't know if it's going to be topped in quite some time there, Joseph. Elimination Chamber for WWE stole the show for the weekend. Of course, the Daytona 500 was great with everything that happened there and with who won and all that good stuff. But with all that stuff aside, and with what we talked about, the XFL, what stole the show away for this past weekend was WWE Elimination Chamber. It has me hyped for the upcoming WrestleMania in 6 weeks, a little less than 6 weeks from now. We have the biggest show of the year outside the Super Bowl, and that is WrestleMania. So as we start the road to WrestleMania, I got to get myself on into watching Monday Night Raw and get caught up for what I missed because it has definitely been a great weekend of sports and entertainment as we came into this final word, this final part of this show to close out episode 79. So, Joey, I want to thank you again for being here for now the 14th time of this rendition of this show, as we have now gone through 79 episodes. And when you think about that, and when you think about it a little bit more, and then you think about how many more times we're going to probably add to that total, still a lot, man. And I love these sound effects, how to bring in some stuff like that, and especially I forgot to do this. There were certain parts earlier that I wanted to do this, but I didn't have a chance. So I have a little soundboard of Those sound effects is great. But, guys, we've had a great time here for now 70 minutes on episode 79 of the In or Out Sports Debate. For my guy, JR, Joey Raymond, I am Drew Willingham. Let's go ahead and take it on into one badass outro.